What's going on, guys and girls? It's the Aussie Inline Skater here, and welcome back to another upload from the Aussie Inline Skater. The weather as of late here in southeast Queensland, good old subtropical climate, has been absolutely horrible this summer. The beginning of summer kicked off really nicely. It was quite pleasant. It wasn't extremely hot, but now the stormy weather's kicked in. We've had a thunderstorm almost every single afternoon for the past 2 weeks now, and it's driving me nuts. And the humidity is beyond comfort. It's been a consistent 80% humid. It's just been very sticky. You go outside, you exercise for 5 minutes, your entire shirt, it's like someone's gotten a bucket and thrown a bucket of water on you. It's horrible. So, while it's incredibly humid, I thought I'd sit inside at home inside the aircon and go over the few skates that I currently own and try and educate you guys a little more as to these super high-end skates that not everyone fortunately gets to ride. I'm quite lucky to be able to skate on these particular skates. So let's start with the first. The Seba Trix was my first carbon skate that I purchased, and from the moment I saw these to this day, I was absolutely in love with these. I had never had a properly fitting carbon skate before, so when I first tried them on, I literally undid like the first maybe top 3 eyelets of lacing, pardon me, and I tried slipping my foot in, and because there's no give anywhere, I was like, oh my god, I know, they don't fit. Because I had to buy these from an interstate skate shop down in the other side of the country. I didn't give up. I undid all the laces completely, pulled the tongue up, slid my foot in. My immediate reaction was, wow, these are snug. Like a lot more snug than the plastic shell boot that I was previously using. But there's a couple of things that make the Seba Trix quite unique. These are primarily a slalom style skate, so they do with the 3-strap enclosure, a velcro on the toes and ankle, and this amazing ratcheting strap, which is really good for micro adjustments on the fly if you just need a little bit of extra support on that 45. It gives you a ton of control. This strap is quite amazing. Let's say you've done it up a little too tight while you're skating. You've got these 2 little arms here, and you just literally push them and that'll come up, and you can micro adjust again to a comfortable tension. Another thing that makes this skate really unique, and I haven't seen anything like it in any other skate on the mainstream market, is this triangular support for the cuff. It's a hard plastic and it comes up into the side of the cuff here, either side. And what this gives is it gives that lateral support that you need. Like it's gonna squeeze in, but because of the triangular design, it doesn't come out too easily. But it allows for an absolute hell of a lot of forward flex when you're laced up in this boot. So you can get into a really low skating position with these skates. The padding on the skate too is quite thick. There's a lot of padding, but it is just a standard, it feels like a standard foam in there, but there's a lot of it. Your foot fits really comfortable in there. For my feet, the footbeds, the standard Seba footbeds, are really comfortable too. They've got a little gel patch at the back there for some shock absorption. The carbon is also very consistent and beautiful on these skates. It's nice and shiny, and it's absolutely lovely to look at. Some of the downsides of the skate though is this synthetic leather is very easy to scuff and tear up. They do put an abrasion pad on the outside of the skate here, but because I do a lot of power slides, there are none on the inside of the boot, So when you do a power slide and you touch down on the concrete, it is going to abrade the boot away. So as a countermeasure, I put some hockey tape around the front of the boot. I've since graduated this from outdoor use. It's now my primary ice skate, as I've converted with the ice frames here. And skating the ice is really fun. The rocker is infinitely progressive, so you're only sitting on a small portion of the blade at any given time. So you get a ton of control. So these boots with an incredibly rocketed ice frame spells for some very, very artistic skating. The next skate I was introduced to in my skate collection was by the infamous Bill Stoppard. That is the Kronos by Rain, a power slide brand. These are one of my favorite skates at the moment to skate in. There's a couple of reasons to that. They have the way the lace enclosure system works, the incredibly thin liner of the boot, the way it all works together, it forms really close to my foot, so that really close fit allows for good energy transfer. You've got the Trinity mount system, which is just 1, 2, 3 bolts affixing the frame to the boot. The carbon construction, the lightweight materials and the composites and everything working together with the close fit. The big wheels, I get a lot of power out of these skates, and these are the only skates that I skate in currently where I do feel like I'm getting all the power out of each push. That is in this configuration. When I'm using the 4x80 Trinity frames, I've got a great deal more control and a ton of stability, but I definitely have a lot less power with these 4x80 frames on these boots than I do with the 3x100 frames. There's a couple of technologies that I really appreciate on this boot that are quite amazing. Let's start with these Kevlar wires that run up the side of the boot. There's only one other boot on the market that I've seen with this, and that's the Powerslide Hardcore Evo. If we get in close, and if you pay attention to where these wires come, they actually come up out of the boot and go around the laces. And I believe that does two things. When you tighten the laces, it helps keep those laces in the tension that you allocate them. So if you pull them tight, they stay tight. If you pull them a little loose, they're going to stay a little loose because of the way those Kevlar wires hold onto the wax laces. It also, when you tighten the laces in, pulls the boot in like that and wraps around your foot rather than just compressing down. And this is what I think allows for a really close form-fitting fit in these boots. The liner is also something that I've never seen in any other skate in the market, and that it's this real sticky microfiber material. When you're wearing socks and you try and put your feet in these, you've really got to undo the laces all the way down to the base of the boot here to pull the tongue out to get your foot in. And even then it can be a bit of a struggle, but once your foot's in, you lace it all up and secure it nice and tightly with this handy little tool here. It's got a tiny hook on the end, and it allows me to get under the laces there and really pull them to the correct tension that I want as I work my way up the boot. But with all of that combined, this is a really powerful setup. The short wheelbase allows for a very, very aggressive turning both forwards and backwards. The symmetrical wheel setup is really nice, so it feels predictable and intuitive. The 100mm height isn't cumbersome. It's very comfortable to skate in. It's just overall a really good boot. It's not the most comfortable boot. It is a little bit fatiguing to a degree because the liner and the tongue and all that is so thin, but it's just really an amazing skate to skate in, incredibly lightweight. In this setup, it comes in at 1.2 kilos, which is my lightest skate. It's even lighter than my ice skates. Oh, almost on par. It's very lightweight. Here's another look at the beautiful Kronos by Rain hockey skates. Got a couple of vents underneath for better air circulation, but I don't think it makes that much of a difference because the insoles would stop any airflow coming through to your foot anyway. That's the Rain Kronos hockey skates by Powerslide. Last but not least is a very famous skate that has some controversial talk to it. It's the infamous Hyperskate GTO by the Adapt brand. What makes this skate so special? There's a couple of things. I'll go over them shortly. So this is a handmade skate in the Netherlands by a couple of skate enthusiasts, Peter and Olga. I feel very privileged to be able to support them, and having purchased my own Hyperskate, these not only look beautiful, they do have some very interesting technologies in them. Starting on the outside, this nubuck leather it's true, it's incredibly durable. Don't take this soft velvety look lightly. This stuff is incredibly durable. I've actually slid out on, is it this one? Yeah, so I've wiped out on this one just here, and that's literally all that happens. The leather gets matted down and it goes shiny. This stuff is super durable. Attached to these, I've got the Rockerbrule Flying Eagle drift frames. These are a really nice frame, good power transfer, nice and stiff. The axles and bolts, Rockerbrule axles and all that are really nice and easy to rotate. The bearings roll nice in the frame. No issues there with fit, and finish is really good. Where the mounting holes are on this boot, I've got the frame situated a little bit back so that the front wheel axle is just underneath the toes. The back wheel axle is pretty much right in line with the back of the boot, but in line with the angle of your forward flexion. And where my foot sits is literally directly on top of the third wheel. So when I'm running in these in a slalom rocker, I am pivoting on that third wheel, and I get some really amazing turns out of these. I've got them set up in an all lace enclosure. I don't like buckles and straps. I really appreciate just having laces, and because I lace up to the top eyelets in these, I've pulled the Velcro strap off. It's unnecessary when you're lacing to the top. If you lace down to this eyelet, the strap is very handy in giving you that ankle support, but I lace all the way to the top, and it's completely unnecessary. The liner in these is also something really special. They're made out of a material called OnSteam. It's a microfiber material that looks and smells like leather, but it's a fibrous material, and it's really good at keeping smells out of the boot. I've never sprayed anything inside of these, and the odor control is really good. They don't stink, and I've had them for nearly a year. The finish of the carbon on them is really nice. You've got a very consistent finish there. It's really awesome. Just the overall construction of the boot is insane. They're a very good looking skate. Another thing that confuses a lot of people is this carbon cuff. You get a lot of lateral support, especially when you lace up and you lace up tight. You're locked in. The forward flex is quite natural. When you bounce off the laces, it pulls the carbon in a little bit, and it gives you a very natural forward flex that's quite comfortable. I get a ton of power transfer out of these. It's insane. Even when I'm running full flat 80, I'm very quick and nimble in these skates. It's incredible. Partnered on them is the FR Street Invader wheels. I'm really liking the grip of these wheels, but I am shredding them up quite quickly on the concrete. But that grip is really nice and cushy for a 4x80mm wheel. Another thing that's really unique about these skates is this lace enclosure is actually divided into 3 parts. Unlike my hockey skates, where each eyelet is pretty much an even distance apart from each other, the Adapt Hyperskates are divided into 3 sections. You have the toe box, which has got these 3 eyelets here, and there's a bit of a gap, and then you've got 2 lace eyelets on the 45, another gap again, and 3 for the cuff. And when you tighten these up, it's very easy to over crank the laces. The first time I got these, I used my little tool here to pull the laces down, and I was actually compressing my foot so much that I started losing blood circulation. I'm like, holy hell, I really got to let up on the tension of these. So I only do these up by hand, and that's all that's necessary. The boot is also sort of a hybrid construction. The carbon runs along the back here, sort of comes down here and runs along the side there. So this whole upper is all soft. So when you lace them up, it's like your foot sits in there like that. The carbon wraps around your foot, and then you've got this soft upper that holds it into the carbon, a bit like a tennis shoe, and it's a very comfortable fit. I did have some pressure issues on the outside of the boots because I've got a bone that sticks right there that was pushing into the carbon. But thanks to the technologies of thermoformability, I was able to bake these in the oven and rectify those issues with several heat molding processes. And they're at a point now where I can sustain hours of use on them without them killing my feet. So that is the Hyperskate GTOs. They really are a beautiful skate. I love them.